Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Benson here from the Art of Braces. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. I'd like to spend today to talk a little bit about how we should be keeping our teeth clean after all of this eating and drinking that we're all planning on doing for the holidays. Definitely make sure that after you guys eat and drink all of those sugary foods that you brush and floss afterward. The focus of today's webinar is actually not so much on flossing, but on using a Waterpik. So let me share my screen with you guys and we will get started. All right, so when we think about cleaning our teeth, the main goal is to not only get rid of all of the food that's on our teeth, but also to get rid of the plaque. So what is plaque and how does it form? Plaque is also called a microbial plaque because there's lots of bacteria in it. Another term that you might hear used is a dental biofilm. Regardless of which term you use, just know that it's that soft, sticky, snowy stuff that you can kind of scrape off of your teeth. Within the plaque, there's tons of bacteria. These bacteria in turn produce acids, and the acids can cause tooth and gum damage. So this top picture is kind of a really gross picture. I apologize. It's showing what plaque looks like up close, that you can scrape it off your teeth. The bottom picture is showing what a healthy and clean mouth should look like. The teeth are really nice and shiny. The gums are pink and healthy. Now with plaque, it's really important that you remove it on a regular basis, because if you don't remove the plaque within 24 to 72 hours, there's actually minerals from your saliva that are going to combine with the plaque and cause it to harden. So once it hardens, this is called tartar. You guys might have also heard the term calculus. It's the same thing. So you can remove plaque at home when it's still soft, but once it hardens into the tartar, then that requires the help of a dental professional, such as a hygienist or a dentist. This is the reason why you still have to get your teeth professionally cleaned at least every 6 months. But the goal is to prevent it from turning into tartar in the first place. So if you remove the plaque when it's in that soft stage still, within the first 24 to 72 hours, then you can actually prevent the formation of tartar. Unfortunately, over 68% of adults have tartar, and that's why you still have to go and get your teeth cleaned, because a lot of times it can be difficult to get all of the plaque off before it turns into tartar. So I'm going to talk today about some tips on how to most effectively get rid of all of the plaque on your teeth. So what causes the dental plaque? It's the food and the drinks that we're eating. When the food and the drinks combine with the saliva, the plaque forms. So the most common foods that contribute to plaque formation are those containing carbohydrates. So simple sugars such as sucrose and starches, which are found in soft drinks and candy, are a huge culprit. These bacteria in the plaque can lead to gingivitis, caries, and advanced gum disease. So it's super important that we take the steps necessary for treatment and prevention. So plaque can be anywhere from a colorless to a pale yellow color. So it can be hard to see. I think this picture is pretty representative of, I would say, my average patient that I see. A lot of you guys might look at this picture and think that it looks okay, and that it's not too bad, but it's actually quite a bit of plaque coating these teeth. The teeth should not look dull this way. There's actually a thin layer of plaque coating all of these teeth here, and that's why it looks that way. Clean teeth should be really shiny. And you can kind of see in between the teeth here, there's a little bit of tartar buildup. And now tartar can be anywhere from like a pale yellow to a dark yellow, or even to a brown color. So obviously when it's darker, we notice it more, and it bothers us more. But so just keep in mind, it can come in all kinds of different colors. If you're having a hard time seeing the plaque, which I think is often half the battle, especially for like younger patients, like teenagers, I recommend getting like a disclosing solution at the drugstore, which can stain all of the plaque usually like a purple or a pink, just to help visualize the plaque so that you can more effectively remove it. Um, there's also a product which we actually sell in the office called Plaque HD. It is a toothpaste with a disclosing solution combined in it. And the toothpaste will actually stain all of the plaque green. So in this example, on the left side, you have a patient with braces on the top and without braces on the bottom. And there's actually plaque. And most of us looking at these pictures on the left would probably think those teeth look actually pretty clean. But you can see here, once this patient brushes with the disclosing toothpaste, all that green, that's actually plaque. And so this is really helpful to help visualize the plaque on the right here, that all of the plaque has been removed. So you can see there's not actually a huge difference between this first picture on the left and the one on the right, and that's why it's so important that we are brushing and flossing effectively, even if we might not necessarily think that our teeth are dirty and can't see it. So the problem with flossing is that a lot of people just find it difficult. However, if you only brush your teeth and you never flossed, you'd actually be only cleaning 60% of the surfaces of your teeth. That's crazy. You'd be missing the other 40%. And the sad fact is only 31% of us actually floss every single day. And honestly, I think that statistic is even a little bit high. There's a lot of reasons why more Americans don't floss. I think the most common reasons is that they just think it's too hard or that it takes too long. So water flossers can be a great choice for people who don't like to use floss or can't use traditional string floss. Flossing, like, don't get me wrong, flossing is definitely something we should all do, and there's no replacement for floss. But the problem is that most people are not flossing correctly. So let's kind of go over what flossing correctly looks like. So you would grab a piece of floss that's about 18 inches long, wrap it around your fingers, and then you're going to go in between your teeth and you're going to hug the tooth and you're going to go up and down in kind of a zigzag motion. You don't want to just snap the floss between your teeth. You actually want to contour it around the side of your teeth, and you want to get into the pocket of the gums here. I think most people, when they're flossing, they are not getting that floss up this high in the gums, and that's really important. Otherwise, there's no way you're going to clean this little gap between the tooth and the gums here. Also, you need to be hugging the tooth in a C. So you can see the C shape here. You would want to be hugging this tooth, and then you'd also want to turn the floss the other direction and hug this tooth as well in order to effectively floss. So this is a lot of work, and I think the majority of Americans, when they floss, are not doing these things. And especially if you add braces into the mix, that makes it even more difficult to get the floss under the wire first, and then to hug the tooth and contour it up and down. So that's where water flossers come into play and can be very helpful. So the studies have shown that water picking is actually 51% more effective than dental floss for reducing gingivitis, twice as effective for reducing gingival bleeding, and 29% more effective for removing plaque. Now granted, this is assuming that you're using the Waterpik correctly, so let's just kind of quickly watch this video which shows the correct way to use the Waterpik. So it needs to be aimed perpendicular to the gums, and you need to trace each tooth along the gum lines for 3 seconds per tooth. So that's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And I think a lot of people might think of a Waterpik as kind of like they're just pressure washing their teeth, but actually it's more of a siphon effect. When you get that Waterpik tip right up against the gums and you're using it at the correct setting on the correct PSI, it actually has a siphoning effect to remove the plaque from your teeth. So this is what the video I just showed is with the classic Waterpik tip. This one on the bottom is a special tip that was designed for braces. So it actually has a little brush head on it that is designed to help clean around the brackets. It's smaller than a toothbrush, so sometimes it can get into those tighter and harder to reach areas more effectively. while also, of course, shooting out the water as well. So I love this video. So this shows what it would look like if you were just brushing and you were not flossing. So the paprika in between the corn kind of is supposed to represent the plaque between your teeth. And you can see how the toothbrush, even if you use an electric toothbrush, is still not going to get all of that paprika or plaque out. So this shows how the Waterpik is able to get in there and to get rid of all of those spots that you might be missing with your toothbrush. All right. So this is a really important slide because it kind of shows the progression of what can happen between healthy teeth and gums if you're taking good care of them versus gingivitis and periodontitis if you don't take care of them and you start getting inflammation in the gums. So if you've ever gone to get your teeth cleaned, you might have noticed that they were measuring the pockets around your teeth, and you might have heard your dentist or your hygienist calling out numbers like 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. What they're doing is they're actually measuring that pocket that exists between your gum tissue and your tooth. Generally speaking, and this is very simplified, 2s and 3s are good, so are 1s, and anything more than a 3, this is millimeters. So a 4 would mean you have a 4 millimeter pocket between the top of the gum tissue and then the bottom of the pocket here. So anything over a 3 is usually considered bad. Now, when you're flossing actually can only go, the studies have shown that the floss will only get down about 2.7 millimeters into the pocket. So if you have pockets that are deeper than 3 millimeters, that floss is actually not going to be able to effectively get all the way down into the pocket to clean it out. The water flossers can actually get even deeper than traditional flossing, and it can go up to 5 millimeters. So it is actually more effective than floss when you have these deeper pockets. So with flossing and brushing, it's all to prevent dental disease, periodontal disease. And what I'm showing here in these pictures is what can happen if you have braces on and you're not brushing and flossing properly. Your teeth will actually start to decalcify, and they usually do it first right around the perimeter of the brackets. And so you'll see what's called these white spot lesions forming around the teeth. And these are permanent, guys. There's nothing you can do to really get rid of these. You can try bleaching your teeth and it blends it in a little bit and makes it a little bit better, but it will never make it go away all the way. And the only thing you could really even do is to get veneers on every single tooth, which is pretty expensive. So you only get one set of permanent teeth. Make sure that you take care of them so that they can last you your lifetime. So this is a really important slide that I wanted to show you guys. This is a study that shows how effectively a water flosser can remove the biofilm. So on the left side, this is what the biofilm looks like under a microscope. And you can see what that plaque biofilm looks like on the left, and then this is how clean it looks after it's removed with a Waterpik. This is with the classic jet tip, and then this is with the orthodontic tip, which they're both pretty effective at removing up to 99.9% of the plaque biofilm. And again, this is after using it for 3 seconds. So if you're not using the Waterpik properly, you will not get that 99.9% of the plaque biofilm removed. So the Waterpiks have a lot of different tips for you to use. The classic jet tip is going to be my recommendation for most people. It's good for just general use. The other tip that I would recommend from here is the orthodontic tip, obviously for our patients with braces. These other tips have more specific uses, like for example, this plaque seeker tip is for helpful cleaning around implants, crowns, and bridges and such. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the difference between the models that you see sold in retail stores versus the ones that you can buy from a professional. So with the retail models, they usually don't have as many bells and whistles. So they might not have a timer or an LED indicator. They might not come with extra brush heads. Also, the build quality just looks a lot cheaper to me. I just saw one yesterday at Costco, and it was significantly less expensive than the professional models, but I could just see that the build quality of it just honestly, it just looked cheap to me, but I don't know what that translates into in terms of how long it would last you, so just keep that in mind. Another thing too is that they also often have a governor on them that limits how much PSI you can get, which is the pressure of the water coming out of the Waterpik. So with the professional model, so this is the Aquarius. The consumer grade version that you can buy in retail stores is called the Ultra Flosser. And the Aquarius can go up to 100 PSI. And I don't know exactly what it is on the Ultra Flosser, but it's not 100 PSI. And in order to get that 99.9% removal of the biofilm, you actually need at least 70 PSI. So you would need this on the professional model to be at least a 7 or higher on your setting here. So the price points will be different for a reason. They're not the same. Another thing to look for when you guys are shopping for these is, I'm sure you guys see on Amazon, they have a lot of non-Waterpik brands. I see a lot of different brands selling water flossers. Just make sure that you see the ADA approved seal of acceptance. So ADA approved means that there were tests and studies conducted on the product to obtain approval to the highest safety and effectiveness standards. So if it's not ADA approved, they haven't undergone these rigorous tests, and a lot of times they can actually make false claims toward their abilities to safely and effectively provide oral hygiene. So I wanted to take this moment now to actually go over some of these different models with you guys, and I'm really excited to show them to you. So the first model that I want to show is this one. This is the cordless model, and it works very well for people who would like to use their Waterpik in the shower. So this is actually the first model that I had purchased for my fiance because I liked that it could be portable. This top part can be removed and you can take it with you to travel. It comes with a little travel case. The nice thing about this is that it's waterproof and you can use it in the shower, because sometimes when you're using the Waterpik, it can kind of make a mess and get water everywhere. So that's why it's nice to sometimes do in the shower. The downside with this one is that of all the models, it has the smallest reservoir. So in one session, you're probably going to have to refill this about 3 times is what I have found works best. We did take ours to travel on a few trips, and one downside I found with this model is that there's no cover on the buttons, and it was really easy for this to get accidentally set off while in our luggage and have it turn on. Like we would just start hearing this vibrating sound coming out of our luggage. And actually it ended up getting damaged from that. Waterpik was awesome though, and they replaced it for us because it was still covered under their warranty. So because of that, I think that is why Waterpik came out with a model that is actually specifically made for travel. So that is this guy. So this is pretty cool. This is called their Sidekick. And so with the Sidekick, you have the little tip here, and unlike the other models, this tip is actually not interchangeable, so you can't use any other tips on this. It's just this one. But you would, to take this apart, you would push this button here, and this comes out, and then you unplug the power cord here, oops, and then this goes in here like this, and then this actually fits in this little case right here, which is really nice and sleek, fits very easily in your suitcase for traveling. And this model, oh, I forgot to mention that on this one, this only goes up to 75 psi. So in order to get that 99.9% plaque removal, you do have to use it all the way on the highest setting. With this sidekick, it does go up to 100 psi. So as long as you use it on at least the 70% or more, like the dial actually doesn't have numbers on it. On this one, it actually just shows these little dots here. There's 5 dots, so this goes all the way up to 100. So I'd recommend that you keep it on the last 2 dots in order to get the most effective plaque removal from that one. The next model I'm going to show you is the Aquarius. This is WaterPiks' flagship model. This one sits on the countertop, and it has the largest reservoir out of all of them. This reservoir is supposed to be good for about 90 seconds. And this allows you to do your entire mouth without having to refill the reservoir. This does go up to 100 psi. So again, you want to have this on at least a 7 or greater in order to get the 99.9% plaque removal. And then the last model I'm going to show you guys is really cool. So they just came out with this, I think, within the last year. This is called the Sonic Fusion toothbrush. So this is for you people who say you don't have enough time to floss. Well, this allows you to brush and floss with a water flosser at the same time. So there's a reservoir here. You can fill this with water, and there's a separate button on the toothbrush for the mechanical toothbrushing action, and then another button for flossing. So you can use this just as a toothbrush if you want to. You can disconnect the toothbrush here, and it actually comes with a travel case for you that fits 2 toothbrush heads and the toothbrush. And if you want to turn the water flossing button on, then you just hit this button and it will start shooting the water out. So this is a great option for those of you who just want to get it all done at once. I will say though that these toothbrush heads are a little bit, the downside of this is that the toothbrush head is a little bit more expensive. If you buy it from your dental professional, it's about $20 for a 2-pack of them. Because on all the other WaterPiks, you don't actually ever have to replace these heads. I've never replaced mine. And with these, you can actually have multiple heads for each member in your family. So that is nice if you have a family and you guys all want to share your WaterPik, but just use different heads. So at this point, I'd like to take a moment to answer any questions that you have. One question that I get a lot is, if you had to just pick one, which one would you choose? I think that really depends on you. If you're the type of person who wants to just be in and out and get the fastest thing done, then I would probably recommend this guy because you can brush and floss at the same time. If you're somebody who already has an electric toothbrush that you love, for example, like me, I love my Sonicare already, then one of the other models would be great because then you could use your toothbrush that you already love first, and then you can follow up with the WaterPik. This is going to be great for people who have, small bathrooms with not a lot of countertop space and they don't want something to occupy that countertop space. But this is not a good option if you think you're going to be annoyed by having to refill this multiple times during your shower. But I mean, you're in the shower already, so it's not that hard to just put this right under the water for it to refill. And then the sidekick, this is going to be a great option if you are traveling a lot. So I think for me, because I love my Sonicare so much already, if I had to choose one, I would probably pick this one because I can use this at home on my bathroom countertop, but I can also take it with me to travel as well, and I don't have to refill this in the middle of using my water flosser. The other question that we have is, can I just stop flossing and just use the WaterPik? No. So I know all of those studies I showed says that the water pick is more effective than flossing at certain things. But all of those things that it's more effective are for reducing the gingival bleeding and the gingivitis, all the things related to your gum health. Floss does something different. If you think about your two teeth touching, the floss goes in between them. You want to break that contact when you're flossing, because if there's any food stuck in between the teeth, the water pick is not going to be able to remove it, and that's when you can start to get cavities in between your teeth. So they do different things. The floss is better for helping you remove the food that is stuck directly between where the teeth touch, and to prevent getting those cavities that are in between your teeth. And then the water pick is better for cleaning into the deep pockets and just getting your gums to be really, really healthy. All right, guys, I think that's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys all have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to send me an email, or you can also ask us when you get into the office. Have a great day.